Welcome to the next baseline. I'm your host, Danny DeJesus, and for today's episode, I want to talk to you today about the RISE community. Now, what RISE stands for, it stands for resilience, insight, strategy, and elevation. But more than the acronym, RISE represents a different kind of support for people going through real life disruption and transition. So, this is not just another online group, it is not just a place to join and scroll through. What I am specifically building RISE for, it is supposed to be a digital community inside the larger Elevatus ecosystem where people can come together for structure, support, perspective, and then also forward movement when life no longer feels clear. Now, when I say unclear, I'm talking about the kinds of seasons that tend to throw people off course. We're talking seasons like divorce, co-parenting stress, career setbacks, leadership pressures, identity shifts, personal hardship, professional uncertainty, and also those moments where what used to work in our lives no longer works today. And then also, at the same time, something also has to change. And so that is who Rise was built for. And this is important to me because this did not come from any theory. I did not build Elevatus, the C2R2E framework, or Rise just to make another product. This specifically came from my lived experience. It came from a culmination of my real pressures, my real disruptions, and the lessons that I learned in seasons that forced me to face what no longer was working. And that is why I wanted to build something accessible to people in the life coaching space. I specifically wanted to lower the barrier to entry because meaningful support should not always begin with a major commitment or a one-on-one session. Sometimes people are not ready for that. Sometimes they simply need a place to begin, a place where they can show up, they can ask honest questions, hear from other people, connect with other people, and feel like they are part of something that can actually help them move forward. And that is really, when I think about it, that is really the promise of Rise. Not perfection, not some instant overnight change, and not some unrealistic promise that everything is going to turn around right now or even tomorrow. Now, the promise is that you step into a space built for transformation. It is the Rise space, the Rise community is intended to be practical, structured, and focused on helping you move forward with more clarity. Because one thing I care about deeply is this. I do not want to build a space where people only sit around talking about what is wrong with their lives. Yes, problems are real. Pain is real. Anxiety is real. Different life pressures are very real. And none of that I am dismissing by any stretch of the imagination. But the Rise community is going to be a solutions-driven environment. It is going to be a place where people can start finding traction again in their lives. A place where they can think more clearly, ask the questions they feel they need to ask, and then walk a step closer to the next practical step, the next actionable step. Because a lot of people simply do not need more encouragement or more motivation. What they really need is a blueprint. They need a starting point. And they also need help turning confusion into meaningful and actionable direction. And this is where Rise is intended to come in, because it is meant to be a launch point for people who are ready to stop drifting and start building forward. And because this is a digital space, Rise is not tied to one city or one region. People can access it from wherever they are. And that is important because disruption is not limited by geography. So the need for support, structure, and forward momentum exists absolutely everywhere. So another important part about Rise is that it does not depend on everything going through me personally in every moment as well. So yes, as the founder, I'm going to be a part of this. And there's value in having direct access to the founder, which is myself. But the strength of Rise is also in the community aspect itself. It is in what happens when people can learn from each other, share insight, offer perspective, and then also realize they're not the only one trying to figure life out in a very hard and difficult and challenging season. And sometimes clarity actually starts when somebody else puts words to what you have also been carrying. Sometimes momentum forward, actionable steps forward begins when you hear from someone else who has been going through that same or similar problem and challenge. And sometimes the first breakthrough that we experience is simply realizing that we are not alone. And that is what community is designed to be. Because when this is built in the right way, as this is coming together, Rise is intended to be responsive. It's not intended to be static. And so, based off of that, I also have this vision and idea to create a program within Rise that I call requests for information or an RFI. And so this is what an RFI or request for information is supposed to be and intended. I expect that people are going to bring their real questions into the community space. And those questions may reveal larger patterns that can, by the way, be turned into a form of content, discussion, deeper teaching, and then also resources can be built around what people are actually facing. So, in other words, the community is designed to help shape the value that comes back to the community itself. And so I find that my hope is that also creates a mindset for ownership as well. Because people are not I don't expect anybody to just show up and consume content within Rise. My hope, my vision, my intent, my expectation is that people come to help shape the space that's going to grow with them. So all questions are going to matter, all insights going to matter, all lived experience is going to matter. And then over time, I feel that's going to open the door to more focused teaching, better Q&As, question and answer sessions, coffee talks, deep dives, and then eventually I would love to see, and my vision is to have community-led groups by community leaders as the space grows and mature. And that's really a bigger vision that I'm casting out there. But all of it, when we put it all together, is going to connect back to the C2R2E framework, which sits at the center of how I think about transformation. And as a reminder, if this is your first, as a reminder for those that have been following me, or if this is your first time, what C2R2E stands for, it stands for collapse, confrontation, realignment, reclamation, and elevation. And that framework is important because what I found is that real change does not happen all at once. It actually happens in stages. In this case, C2R2E is a five-stage framework. And here's the thing. Sometimes life collapses in an area you can no longer ignore. Then comes confrontation where you stop avoiding what the disruption or the collapse is actually showing you or revealing to you. Then realignment comes in where you begin making better decisions and building with more deliberate intention. Then you transition into a phase of reclamation where you start taking back your personal agency, your clarity, and the direction of your life. And then finally, elevation. And this is where a new operating standard for your life begins to take shape and hold in how you live and move forward. And here's the thing, that process, it takes time. And I'm going to be very honest about that because transformation does not happen overnight. So therefore, I cannot guarantee you any results, and I would never pretend to do that. And here's the thing, transformation is not automatic. It's going to require your participation. It's going to require you to be honest with you. is going to require your discipline, and it's also going to require your time deliberately. But here's the thing. This is what I can promise. I can promise you a framework like C2R2E. I can promise you a community space, and then also a safe space that supports the work. And that is one of the biggest reasons why Rise matters to me so much. Because Rise, if I hadn't said it before, I'll say it again. Rise is intended to give people a place where transformation can stay active, not just in one conversation, not just in a burst of motivation, and not just in one piece of content that might have been heard at one particular point in time. Rise is supposed to be a space where people can come to 24/7, 365 days a year. A place that keeps the work of transformation, very close. A place where it supports the work of transformation in an easier way, in a way that's easy to access, and then also you're surrounded by people that take growth and transformation very, very seriously. And so I want to say this clearly as well, and I want to be unequivocally clear about something I'm about to say, because I've talked extensively about what Rise is intended to be, but the one thing I need to hit on as a disclaimer is that Rise is not therapy, so don't ever think that. Rise is not intended to be any form of clinical care, nor any type of legal type of advice. So it's not going to be a replacement for any of those professional services that, in all honesty, Rise or the Elevatus ecosystem, or even myself, that's not designed to handle. However, if you are ever in a crisis or in a bind, from a community perspective, the intent is also to point you in the right direction to where you can reach out to the right people. So overall, what I see Rise being is just really a very meaningful support space, a place to think better, to gather yourself in a way you may have not been able to do on your own, a way to connect with others in a new way from all over across the country, all over the United States. And who knows, we may have a time where it's not just folks in the United States, but also people internationally as well. Who knows? Because this is all just the beginning. And so overall, when I think about Rise, I think about the many people that are carrying something in silence, how people are potentially, there's a lot of people out there that are potentially suffering in silence. They may feel overwhelmed, disconnected with life, unable to be in the present, to experience the present moment. Some people are out there may not even know what to do next. And so I want Rise to offer something that is grounded, that is real, that makes sense. I don't want this to be a place that it's hyped up, it's fluffy, it's intended to always make you feel good. That's not the intent. I want to be able to offer real hope. The kind of hope that says your life is not over because the season is hard or challenging. I want to be able to offer the kind of hope that says you don't have to keep looking backward. Life is best lived in the present, and there's a future waiting for you that you can't even begin to imagine. I also want to be able to offer the kind of hope that says a new path can be built from here. A new path can be built from the wreckage and the collapse. That is what I want people to feel when they enter the Rise community. I also think it's important to say that this is all in the beginning phases. And I'm talking about it now because I believe in what it is meant to become. I know the problem it speaks to. I know the kind of people it is meant to serve. And I know there are people right now who need exactly this kind of environment. So, no, I am not pretending every part of the future is already fully built out, because there's a bigger vision. And for this vision to be achieved, if this message speaks to you, I'm asking you and inviting you, come join Rise and see what this is about. See if Rise can help change the course of your life. So, with that, if you've been looking for a sign, maybe, just maybe, this may be a sign. If you have been looking for a possible next step, maybe this is one. Maybe this is one as well. If you have been looking for support that feels practical, human, structured, and accessible, Rise may be exactly what you need in this season of your life. Because Rise is more than just content. Rise is about connection, community, reaching a sense of clarity, direction, transformation, and it's also about helping people get back on the road to thriving. So before I close, I want to leave you with something to reflect on. And in every single one of my content pieces, whether it's video or whether it's through a podcast or through written blog posts, I always like to leave my readers and my viewers, my audience, with something to reflect on. So a couple questions here, few questions actually. And I'll start with this first one. What area of your life right now needs more structure, more support, and a clearer path forward? And what might change if you stop waiting to have every answer before taking your next step? And I would like for you to sit with that for a moment. What in your life needs more resilience? What in your life needs more insight? Where do you need more strategy? And what part of you is ready for elevation? And that is really the invitation. That is the work. And that is Rise. So with that, I'm Danny DeJesus, and this is another episode of The Next Baseline. So if this episode connected with you and resonated with you, and you would like to learn more about Rise and what we're building through Elevatus Coaching, the links will be in the description below. So I encourage you to connect and stay tuned for another episode in the future. And until next time.